are some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Sam Lubman here with Joe the Butcher Boy Shasky. Episode 51 of the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Shasky, 51. That felt like the amount of losses the Giants were on pace for by the end of May before picking up a win against the Marlins in Miami yesterday. It has been tough sledding these last couple weeks to start the season.
No, it's more Noah Lowry's number, 51. Like, that's where we're going with this right now. The old lefty.
That's a more positive one, yes.
Yeah.
Other 51s, a couple weird 51s actually in Giants history. Remember on opening day, we were walking around the ballpark and we saw Luis Gonzalez's 51 jersey at the club level. It's like, why are we honoring Luis Gonzalez of all players? Of course, he was the 1,000th player to ever suit up in Giants history. I think the weirdest 51 will always be Randy Johnson. That was one where I liked Randy Johnson on the Giants. It was a lot of fun. It was cool to see him, go from enemy to ally. But at the same time, it was still a little weird. You never really got too comfortable with that one. Something that we're not really getting comfortable with right now is the Giants' 6-11 start to the season, though. They just went through Detroit and Miami, two teams that aren't very good right now. And the Giants looked kind of worse than two teams that have lost, over 95 games in the last season. Shasky, it feels like the Giants, they're really testing us early, and it's very hard to not jump to conclusions about what this team looks like right now.
Yeah, it feels like right now they look like a team that has occasional long ball hitting, lots of strikeouts, have a tough time with situational hitting, and the pitching is spotty at best. The bullpen looks very young, or if not young, incomplete, with a lot of unproven or erratic arms. And right now, there's really, Alex Cobb's been maybe their best starter. I think.
DeSclafani too.
DeSclafani too. You know what? You're right. DeSclafani as well. But that's not saying a whole lot, And it just feels like too many times they have injury concerns, or they've got a guy who can barely get through the fourth inning. And it's really taxing this bullpen early on. And you're seeing that, like, whether it's Brebbia, the Rogers brothers, Doval, inconsistencies, moments, flashes from all of them. And then just the defense, the combination of not being able to throw strikes, giving up situational spots, big hits. It's not good right now. It's early, but it's not good.
Yeah, I want to let's take a look at the bullpen really quick, just because that it felt like coming into the season, the expectation was if there's one thing we don't really need to worry about, it is the bullpen. And the Giants have done pretty well in the bullpen the last couple of years. This year, though, it's just like you said, Brebbia has kind of been a little bit bumpy out the gate. I do think he's better off in the 6th or 7th inning, which is interesting because most of his appearances have come in the 8th inning, yet we never really think of him as an 8th inning guy. But I do like him more there. But the big issues in the bullpen that, just to start off, it's Taylor Rogers, I feel like, is the most alarming one, because that was when the Giants gave him a 3-year deal. They invested a lot of money into him to kind of help be a tag team setup role with his brother Tyler. The early returns, it's really bad right now. And you got to wonder if he's dealing with confidence issues right now in the early going.
Well, he's a guy that I can already point to and say, he doesn't love the pitch clock. He looks like somebody who's been really frazzled by the pitch clock. And then it's a compounding problem for him. Not only is he getting a ball, then he can't throw a strike, right? Because obviously the penalty for a pitch clock violation is a ball. Seeing him throw the glove in the garbage can the other day, I've never seen that. I've never seen that from a big leaguer, at least. That was alarming. Clearly it's gotten to him. I don't know what it is. He was a good reliever at one point. I don't know if you can make that case right now. Is it a funk? Is it something that they should be really, really worried about? I don't know, but I'm willing to give him more opportunities because they have no other alternatives.
No, and really, you look at kind of the composition of the bullpen right now. It doesn't feel like you have a whole lot of trustworthy options. And again, I agree with you. I do believe Taylor Rogers does deserve a little bit more benefit of the doubt. This is a guy who saved 34 or 32 games, something like that last year. He has a track record. The Giants do have a coaching staff that does know how to get better performances out of their pitchers. But I like watching the game yesterday. It's like it feels like after Sean Alexander and Tyler Rogers come into the game, you don't really have any better options really to trust out of this bullpen right now. I mean, Brebbia, he's good. You don't want to overuse him, though. Jacob Junis did not pitch yesterday after coming in relief on Tuesday when Alex Wood went down. We could talk about the Alex Wood injury in a little bit too. But then you got guys, in the 11th inning, you're trying to defend a 4-run lead here and try and lock things down. And you got Sean Jelly coming in. And I'm thinking, come on, is there really no one better than Sean Jelly who could come in right now? I look at the Giants box score and no, they don't have anybody who's better that could come in right now.
No. And I think that the biggest frustration is, they haven't developed any young arms through their own system. Like Sean Jelly's one, but like Sean Jelly, not really inspiring right now. And then through free agency, through lots of trades, they've had decent relievers over the last couple of years. Right now, who's a reliable arm right now coming out of that bullpen?
Probably, I think it's Sean Alexander right now. I think Sean Alexander is.
You know what?
I think Sean Alexander is the guy in the bullpen who, like, when he comes in right now, it's like, all right, we're feeling good right now. After that, I mean, me, I'm a big Tyler Rogers fan. I believe in Tyler Rogers. He's great until he's not. He's almost in that same vein as Sergio Romo once upon a time. Romo, he was awesome. He's going to get guys out, but that hanging slider is coming. You know it's going to happen, and you have to deal with it and hope that he mitigates it. The Sean Jelly experiment, I had such high hopes for that. I mean, he's just the build, a 6'11" pitcher. You got to figure, like, you have just physical raw tools to really just be able to sling it in there. It's just not happening at this point. You think he has the tools. The Giants, they're not figuring out a way to get him to put it together right now. And I feel like you have to kind of pull the plug there. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of Jeff Samardzija. Just the wind up, the way that his ball finds the bat. You would look at him and think that the makeup, like he would be better pitcher given the repertoire, given the pitches that he can throw, but it doesn't translate right now. And I don't know, man. They've had so many different catchers behind the dish, which I believe it's not the end all be all, but it's part of the equation that we're in right now. And then they've got a lot of guys like, who are, for example, Alexander. Do you really want him pitching to righties right now? Yeah, it's tough. No, they call him Jelly, but he always seems to get the Giants into a jam. Let's talk about another issue that's kind of hurting the Giants right now, and that is the injuries. They are really piling up early right now. Mitch Haniger's out right now. Austin Slater, who, the lefty masher, he's a big part of what the Giants try to do this year. He's not available. You don't have Jock Peterson. Michael Conforto is at least getting back into the lineup. And then, of course, they lost Alex Wood on Tuesday. And those were gut punches. I think Gabe Kapler said after the game on Tuesday, when Wood went down, it was a gut punch. And these injuries are mounting early, and it's really impacting the Giants' ability to execute their strategy. We had Dave Fleming on yesterday, Shasky, and he said something kind of interesting. I want to play it here about just what the injuries have truly done to the Giants in the situation that these injuries have put this team in.
I've had so many managers tell me the Giants are really hard to manage again, that the Giants present so many problems because of the way they can use their full roster and mix and match. Right now, the Giants are easy to manage again. They are. You're not worried about pinch hitters coming off the bench. There are pockets of the lineup where there's an easy maneuver for the opposing manager. Here's the guy I want against that. It's just so much easier right now than it usually is. And that stinks. And they can't feel sorry for themselves. Nobody's feeling sorry for them.
They pride themselves on their matchups and really kind of putting guys in the best situation to succeed and make things complicated for the other team. We used to always joke about the line changes in 2021 where, the entire bench would come in, and it was fun to joke about it then because it worked. The Giants can't do their line changes. They can't execute their strategy how they want. And you're seeing it out there. They're seeing it because they're struggling against teams like the Tigers and the Marlins. They're having situations where they have to have lefties hit against lefties late in the game. They're not able to do what they want to do. Yeah, there's a variety of adjustments that they're going to have to make organizationally when it comes to how they're assembling teams, which we've kind of intimated at for many, many years. And they got a lot of just flawed players that are very niche, very platoony to your point. And I think what happens is depending on the circumstance and injuries, because they've got a lot of injuries right now,
you got guys that are miscast into situations where they wouldn't normally be. Like, for example, Sean Manaea. I think they wanted Sean Manaea to be maybe a part of the bullpen and not the starting rotation, but Ross Stripling was so bad so early on. Now Ross Stripling's in the bullpen and Manaea's into the rotation. Well, they thought Alex Wood was going to be good in the rotation. Alex Wood's hurt. So instead of having Jacob Junis, who's a nice bridge, now Jacob Junis is into the rotation. And you could see how this is kind of a domino effect here. I look at the Mitch Haniger injury in terms of the everyday lineup, and I feel like it's really hurt their clutch hitting, obviously, in certain situations, and it's forced their hand, and they're trying to find pop anywhere they can get it. And so that's why you're seeing a JD Davis roll out there at third base, even though defensively maybe not the greatest, but the bat is much needed right now. So injuries and then niche players playing way more than they should. I'm not surprised why they're where they're at.
And I think on the one hand, you could say, well, injuries are a part of the game and it's just tough luck and the Giants have to work through that. And normally you could say that in a way that's like, well, okay, then fine. When they get healthy, then we'll see where things are at. Here's the problem that I have with that argument is that the Giants made their bed with guys with injury histories. Mitch Haniger, a very checkered career full of injuries. Not all those injuries were his fault, but this is a guy who does have recurring health issues. Michael Conforto has been out of the baseball for the last couple of years as he deals with shoulder injuries. Jock Peterson, for the most part, mix and match health here and there, but throughout this whole roster, you got guys who have dealt with health issues, and then you're shocked when those health issues rear their ugly head and impact team performance. All of this in the backdrop of the whole Carlos Correa deal that was scuttled because of health concerns over his ankle. And again, I know those are not it's not the same, like committing to Mitch Haniger isn't the same as the commitment they would have given to Carlos Correa, whether it was for 13 years or for 6. But that's when you have to explain that to fans, that's not going to really track well. What fans see is guys are hurt. This guy could have helped us out, but you didn't want to sign him because he might get hurt, Yeah, I hear you. And it's unfortunate. It really is. But look, I think we're dwelling on all the negativity, and I understand why people would. There are some positive stories on this team. Estrada has had a hell of a beginning of the season. Even though VR is struggling at the plate, at least we're seeing him. At least he's in the lineup just about every day. Joey Bart, average doesn't look too bad. He's even got an extra base hit now. You bring up Thairo Estrada. I'm glad you did, because I did want to get into some positives here.
Okay.
When Fleming was on the other day, he had some glowing reviews to say about Thairo Estrada.
He would be the next guy on the list if you're thinking about, okay, Logan Webb is locked up. This team has a severe lack of young, projectable talent that's at the major league level right now. That's really, really hurting this team right now. Tyro's next in line for the guy you can say, okay, look ahead, not just this year, but the next 5 years, who can be a big part of this franchise. I think Tyro's next on that list because of all the things you talked about. He's going to play shortstop today. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be playing more shortstop as we move ahead in this season. We'll see how he handles that.
I think Sam. Yeah, I think Thairo Estrada is a really, really good ball player. We ripped the Giants. Oh, they platoon, and they got all these guys that are strikeout, home run guy. Here's a guy that puts the ball in play and sprays it all across the field. Great speed, pretty good base running instincts. Defensively, yes, he's not the most elite defensively,
but he's getting better though.
He's got a lot better. Got a lot better. And in terms of a table setter, he's much more of a traditional leadoff number 2 hitter than someone like Lamont Wade, tons of walks, great OBP. He can't hit though. He can't hit right now. And I don't think that his running is as good as Estrada's. Estrada's been outstanding right now. And if I was looking at one early positive sign, to me, this looks like a multi-year option in the middle of the infield.
I agree. No, it would be great just to finally get some sort of consistency in that middle infield too, especially with Brandon Crawford, aging just rapidly before our eyes. The emergence of Thairo Estrada is a huge plus this year. People have high hopes for him. I think I said it before, people expect kind of 2020 seasons out of him, 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. And yeah, there's a lot of negative early on here in this Giants season. I still think there's a lot of positives though. You have to really look kind of under the hood to see them. I'm refraining still from drawing any major conclusions about this team. I at least need to see them healthy. I want to wait until maybe mid to late April before I really say, okay, this is who the 2023 Giants are.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I'm kind of with you on that one. And look, it's been a tough start to the beginning of the season. Logan Webb is, he's searching right now. He's wandering the desert. I think if he can get himself right, I think the rest of the team will kind of fall into order.
Yeah.